Well, welcome everybody. This is IoT DeepDive Meetup number 1. It's right about 7 o'clock. We could wait a few more minutes for more people to show up, or we could get started. Does anyone have any preferences?
Get started.
All right, I got one get started. Anything else?
Get started.
I got 2 get started. Get started going twice.
Let's get it going.
Get started sold. Okay, we're getting started. So we're going to be going over, I've got a 12-month meetup run here at Capital Factory, and so I'm going to try and do 12 meetups on IoT. Disclaimer, I am an applications engineer at ARM. The tools I'm going to be showing you today I actually work with, and I think they're one of the better solutions for IoT, which is why I'm presenting. So that is my disclaimer. I get to do this for a job and it's kind of fun. That said, I have scoped out the next 3 months roughly of the talks I'm going to give, and after that I don't have them yet, so when I go home tonight I get to go put those together. So I'm going to have a form for y'all, a Google form, that if you'll be kind enough to fill out at the end of the talk today to give me some input as to what you'd like to see, if you have any preferences or feedback one way or another, it'd be greatly appreciated. So today we're going to be going over the Embed toolset. Mbed is an online compiler system that has both component code, a large number of boards that span a number of different technologies, from VLE to Wi-Fi to traditional microcontrollers and everything in between. And so I chose to use them because you don't have to spend 10 hours setting up 9E each time you want to use a new technology. And so that enables me to give a talk in an hour and get things rolling. This workshop is going to be a little bit weird because it's the first one I'm doing. Given that it's January and not everyone is back up to speed, people still have like holiday hangovers, I'm going to keep it a little bit shorter, go a little bit more fluid. Every other meetup will be roughly an hour of here's a tech, here's how you use it, let's go through some examples, and then an hour of workshopping it where I try and get boards in everyone's hands and get everyone using the tech before we walk out the door. The goal of this is to give you functional skills. Not talk about something, not allude at things, but to actually have people developing and using the tools to build something. And in that way, I think we're kind of unique. Anyways, so going on. That went too far. So first for 15 minutes today, I'm going to go through a walkthrough, and I'm going to show you all how the tools are used, how to compile and everything else. And then I'm going to turn it over to y'all. I've got a bunch of boards sitting in that box that I'm going to pass out and get everyone running with boards and loading code. And for about an hour or so, I'm going to have y'all replicate what I did in those 15 minutes. Looks like y'all go faster than an hour, which I hope you will. Then I'll come back up here and show you some more advanced stuff. And we'll just go like that until we run out of time, where I show you something cool, I try and get y'all to do it, and y'all expand upon it. That's the workshop section of today. Any questions? Spiffy. Okay. Again, the goal is to be hands-on, functional, and get you at least blinking an LED, if not more, by the time you leave today. So at this point, I'm going to flip over to a different tab. So this is the website. The website is developer.embed.org. So again, that's developer.embed.org. Can everyone see that? If I go here, I will click login or sign up in the top right-hand corner. And I will sign up for an account on this page. So now I haven't created an account before. I'll go through and I'll fill out all this stuff. And really the only reason you have to create an account is because you'll have a compiler workspace where you can make your own programs and import other people's stuff and change it. And you want that to be private and not in the public domain. So everyone creates an account which turns into a hash key, and you can access your hash key using your password. And that way we keep everyone from seeing your code. It also keeps it saner for our web devs. So you would fill this out, and it would kick you on to the main page. So I'm going to fill this out real quick. I agree. Sign up. Oh, someone's already beaten me to it. In this case, I'm going to just log in with a demo account that I already have, but you would, of course, follow the steps. So now I'm signed in. You can tell I'm signed in because right here, I've got it changed from login to having a username right next to it. Now I'm going going to show you all the platforms page, and I'm going to import a platform into my compiler. So the platforms page, which is this thing right here, has every embed platform. Ideally, we'll take over the world and everyone will be embed, but right now there's only like 75 of them, and it grows every year roughly by a twofold. So what I'm going to show you all tonight is the Freedom K64F. So I'm going to scroll down. It's right here. So again, this is the FRDM K64F. This is going to take me to that platform's platform page. On this page, you'll have all the useful information about this board. If there's anything special about it, if there's anything wrong with it, pinouts, firmware updates, everything related to the board will be on its platform page, and hopefully easy to read. Yeah?
So on the meetup, it said it was an ARC board.
Oh, so a couple people asked on the meetup page about a month and a half ago about if they were to buy their own board, what board should they get? I recommended getting a BLE board because the next 2 or 3 months I'm going to be doing BLE as the topic, and so I recommended buying a BLE board so they can use it both for Meetup 1 and 2 through 4. And so the Arch BLE, if you can hold your board up, it's like that's an Arch BLE. Could you hold up your board as well? So the board that he has right there is not an Arch BLE. That is a Nordic DK board, and it just says it in print. So if I wanted to use their boards instead, I'd go back to the platforms page and scroll down to those. So Arch BLE is right here. So I'd click on that instead of the Freedom board. And this is the same process for every platform that is on Embed. And again, we have everything from Wi-Fi to BLE to Ethernet and everything in between. Also, just going to point out, if you're curious about searching through the boards, there's a thing here on the right-hand side, right over here, that lets you search by like peripheral it has. So if you're looking for something that does something, you can clean them out like that. Anyway, I'm going to go back to the Freedom board though, because that's what most people in the room will be using in about 10 minutes. So that Freescale board, you click on it. Now to add it to your compiler, you're going to click a button right here. Mine says open in the compiler because I already added it. So I'm going to go back and add, say, a different board. I'll add this one because I like it. I also have that board. Should not have that. Right, so I'll click on add to your embed compiler, which is this button right here. And I can add any platform I want. So I'll click add to my compiler. And then a message will come up that says, hey, it's in your compiler. Awesome, go build something. So now I'm going to go build something. In my case, I want to do something that blinks an LED. So I'm going to search LED example, and this will search the entire website. Search embed example. There we go. So what I just did was I went to another team called Embed Examples, which is maintained by a couple of really cool dudes. And the code that they've got here demonstrates every API. This is more of a reference for you guys. I'm just going to grab one and print something out real quick.
How did you get here? Sorry, I looked away. And
Oh, it's all right. I searched for Embed Examples and got there. So if I take a piece of code, in this case, I'm going to use digital out, hello world.
Austin, can you zoom in for the people in the back?
I can hide this thing, I think. Is that better?
Yeah.
Cool. But then I can't see that. There we go. So on the far right-hand side, there's a thing called import program. You'll click on that to import the program into your workspace. So I'm going to click import this program. And it opened up a new tab. And that new tab is going to have a really ugly thing on it because my browser's bugging out.
I got that too.
What, the side thing? Oh no, this pop-up is supposed to happen. So did y'all follow that? I clicked on import this program, a big button, and that imported it into the compiler.
That's what I did before, but I got a bunch of stuff.
Anyways, so that'll import it into my compiler. I'm going to click on import. Everything's there, and here's this program called Digital Out Hello World. Click on the main file, it'll show you all your code, et cetera, et cetera. The big thing to notice here is this compile button. If you click on compile, it's going to run through and try and compile your code on our servers, and we do a massive parallelization so you can run a compile that would usually take 30 minutes in about 30 seconds. So when you start pulling in these massive libraries like Ethernet and Bluetooth LE and Wi-Fi, that on your host computer would take a long time to compile. The max compile time on the website never exceeds 10 to 30 seconds because we kind of parallelize everything. Question?
Yeah, does the compiler know memory limitations for the specific hardware?
Great. So when I selected my platform, it adds that to the compiler.
Right.
That's how it knows what you're compiling for. In this
So
case,
all tag just to as part of the application process to be on the site.
Mhm.
Right.
Which is why each platform is a different platform and not,
Right.
all one giant thing. So to your point, to change platforms, if I wanted to compile for one board versus another, I'd click up here in the top right-hand corner. And this is where I zoomed in too far, so this window is way too big. And this thing will pop up.
Okay.
These things I've got along the bottom are platforms that I've added on that first page, so I can change between any of them that I want. So I'm going to change to the K64F and select it. So now the top thing up here reads as the K64F. I don't know if y'all can. Yeah, see K64F top right corner? So now if I hit compile, it's going to compile. And it succeeded, so it's going to prompt me to download it. So I'm going to click Save File. Go over to my Downloads folder. And here it is in my Downloads folder. At this point, I need a board plugged in, so I'm going to do that real quick. Can I get some napkins from the back?
Oh, shoot, didn't see it.
Thank you. I am smooth on unmitigated levels tonight. Thank you so much.
We're just gonna do a fluid sensitivity test.
Yes, clear. We're gonna. Thank you.
If you lay it on there, it's going to soak through a bunch of the towels.
Good point. Good point.
And let's get the box.
Just don't worry about it. So many.
The beer is good though,
My
right?
beer is good. My beer is problem. Okay, so I'm going to plug in the board.
Another one?
Not good, thank you. So plug in the board, little green power light comes on. The big thing to notice is when you plug it in on your computer, it's going to show up as a USB drive as soon as it installs its driver. Real-time demos are the best. Cool, so it showed up. And right here, I've got an Mbed USB drive that showed up. The way that all the Mbed boards are set up to work is they show up as USB drives. When you download the binary from the website, you drag and drop it onto the board, and the board programs itself. So if anyone's done embedded stuff and had like those big, bulky JTAG connectors, or the U-links or the J-links or any of that stuff, this is a way to get around it and really speed up development. So I'm getting blank stares. I guess no one's done that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, see, you remember the pain.
Well, no, this is amazing, yeah.
Great. So if I go back to my downloads, I will click on downloads, click on the file, drag it, and drop it, if my mouse will agree to cooperate. And that right there is it programming itself. Now it's going to eject from my computer and reconnect. And if I press the reset button, that code is now running right there and it's blinking the LED. That's the entire process for getting up and running with the Embed tools. Everything else is just choosing what peripheral you want to use, your timing, and whatever else you want to program. But that right there that I just showed you, compile, save, drag and drop, is the entire process, soup to nuts. Any questions before I pass out boards?
Revision control and
Revision control?
revision control, how that works in the.
Right, revision control. So who here has ever used source code management in the form of, say,
Yep.
yeah, I just say those words and you all know what I mean.
Yeah.
So we have a tool, we're actually using a Mercurial database on the back end, which is like a less wordy version of Git if you've never used it. Git was made largely open source. Mercurial is largely for pay. There are various subversions of everything else. Also, Subversion is a thing. But Mercurial has more sane naming for its things. So like Rebase isn't called Rebase, it's called something that makes sense. If you've ever used Git, sometimes you're like, why is it called that? That makes no sense. Mercurial naming makes sense. It is more intuitive. So if you've ever used it, you'll be right at home. If I wanted to, say, make changes to this program and then put it out there for other people to use, or just keep versions for myself privately, I could make a change. In this case, I'm going to add a comment at the end of the code. So added comment here. I'm now going to go, I'm going to save it, of course, because you save your changes. And then right here on the commit, I've got two options. I've got commit and I've got publish. If I commit, it'll add to the branch that I'm currently working on. And if I publish the code, it'll take it out of my private workspace and give me the option to either make it public or publish it unlisted or publish it privately. But it gives you the ability to share with people. So I'm going to go ahead and say publish, which is first going to prompt me to add a commit message. So I'm going to add a commit message of first private edition. Click on OK. And it's going to go, OK, adding your commits, and now I'm going to publish it. I will get to you in just a second. Let me finish this train of thought. Now, because the thing that I imported is a public repository, if I want a private version of it, I have to create a fork. This is also the proper method for if you want to add changes back. Like you make a fork, you make your changes, and you submit a pull request, and the person can say, yeah, I'll pull your changes into my thing. That's how the open source philosophy works for code development, especially on distributed source tools. So in this case, let me see. I'm going to publish to a different URL. Yeah, no, I'm going to fork it. So I'm going to fork it to my personal space. So this is my personal fork. I can add tags and all kinds of other fun stuff. And right here, I can publish it either as public unlisted, which means if you type it in the search bar, it won't find it. So this is really handy for like when I'm collaborating with friends on a project, but I don't want anyone else to see it. It's kind of like a direct link only YouTube share. If you search for it on Google, you won't find it. But if I hand you the link directly, you can totally access it. And there's also private, which is just private. No one else can see it. It's kind of weird that we can publish privately, but it's a whole other thing. Anyway, so I'll say, OK, and I'll create a fork in my repository. And I can even open the page to go view the fork. If you're interested and you're really into source control, this platform has all of that, and it's really, really fun and really, really detailed. And so, like, don't get the idea. Don't get the idea that this platform is so simple and it's limited because of that. It's more like there's been a huge amount of work that went into it, and because of that, it looks simple, but it's not actually. Anywho, so you had a question.
I was just kind of wanting to know if it's similar to like what GitHub does, basically.
Yeah, kind of.
The clearest way to say that would be developer.embed.org as a developer site is analogous to GitHub in that it hosts code, you can ask questions, you can talk to the community. The compiler or the online IDE you just showed is a private workspace that you cannot share with anybody else until you go publicly and push all your work. So you can think of that online IDE as your desktop workstation, right? It's detached from everybody else until you share the work you've done into a public space.
Okay, do you guys have like webhooks and stuff like that? Or do you using other implementation tools to develop? So like if you wanted to like do the GitHub connections, you'll be using software into the actual.
Right. So right now, Mercurial support is what's built into the tool. GitHub support is coming, but right now, all of the integration and services are wrapped up kind of in this one place as using Mercurial as the backend.
Could I get that yellow board we were passing around?
I got a question.
Yeah.
Your board back? You clicked save. Where did it save to?
Your personal workspace.
So that's online somewhere?
Yeah. Oh, I should mention, you can also take this offline. Like, if you don't want to do this online, you don't have to. You can totally just use the tools as a jumping off point to aggregate a whole bunch of libraries and get your code compiling, and then be like, okay, I gotta go debug, let me take this offline. Would you like me to show you how to take it offline?
Yeah, I think that'd be cool, because sometimes you don't have an internet connection.
Cool. Sam, can you two start passing out boards for me while I show them this? So if I right click on the project, so I can back in the compiler, if I right click on it, there's this really handy option called export program. By the way, short key bindings are a thing in our compiler. We've done this really cool thing where it's actually online but behaves like it's an offline IDE, so all your keyboard shortcuts are still there. So if I export it, it'll bring up a thing and be like, okay, what do you want to export it to? And what I do is, to address your concern about the flash space, I select what board I'm exporting to. In this case, the K64. And then I select the tool chain I want. In this case, Kyle, because I like Kyle. You can also do GCC or IAR. There's Kinetis because it's a free-scale MCU, and Kinetis is free-scale software tools. There's also just a straight zip archive. If you just want the code itself, you can just grab the zip. This is a great way to get different project files for different compilers.
So then, but then we'd have to download whatever that thing is, right?
Yeah.
So.
What we did was we tried to find as many tools that are out there and just work with as many as we could. So if you have a preferred environment, we probably have an exporter for it. If we don't have an exporter for it, the entire tool set is open source, so you can add an exporter for it if you want it. Cool.
So is this a full implementation of C++, so you can do classes and everything?
C++. It is awesome. I don't think the entire tool set and the hardware abstraction layer would be possible without C++. If you tried to do this in C, you'd wind up mired in this depth of pound defines that would quickly drive you insane.
Which of these two can
So, if you point the Ethernet at the ceiling, you'll see there. Guys, there's two USB things on here. If you point the Ethernet up, the one on this side is the one you want. Because this device is both USB host and USB device. You want to plug it into the one that says OpenSDA on the bottom. So if you look in the bottom, it'll say OpenSDA. That's a debug protocol that we're using.
I guess there's any support for C#.
Have you seen any embedded systems that run C#?
No.
Exactly.
Just
So I'll give you a hint. I've seen one that ran C#, and it was like running Python in an embedded system. It just didn't work nicely.
But yet at the same time, the new CEO of Microsoft claims that Windows 10 is going to unify.
Don't talk to me about Microsoft. So when Microsoft can do an embedded system properly, I'll leave them shorts.
Right.
So anyways, as everyone gets their boards, I want y'all to try and do what I did. Try and create an account, find a program, and download it. I should also mention, if you want a shortcut around all that, there's a really cool shortcut where when you plug the board in, there's an HTML file on the board itself. If you open up that HTML file, it'll take you to the website, and it'll just be like, hey, website, register this guy, and by the way, he's got this board, because I'm on the board, and I know what board he has because I'm on the board. So register that board, please. So it's just a shortcut that'll save you a couple steps.
I plugged in the board and it says OS 10 cannot repair disk Mbed.
Ah, right, so you're using Yosemite. I mentioned it to these guys earlier. At DEF CON this year, a guy rolled up to Apple and was like, hey, Apple, you think you're secure? No, you're not. And Apple went, oh no, shut down all the things. And so now Apple published a patch in the latest version of Yosemite, and it broke a lot of our compatibility. And it has to do with the way that FAT16 could be injection attacked and all this other stuff. Fun fact, that USB stick is showing up as a FAT16 file system on the USB. And so because of that thing that was found in Yosemite added a patch, now there's a bug, all kinds of fun stuff. We're issuing a patch for it. In fact, is that patch live?
K64, yes.
K64, cool. So I'll show you a firmware update and you can solve the problem. There is a workaround if you don't want to update it, in which case you just use the terminal. Instead of drag and drop, you just do copy and copy from the terminal, because that then forces it into legacy mode. So
You go on that HTML page to do the register thing.
if you open up the board, then it's on the board.
Yeah, open the board up. I've opened the file on the board.
So everyone try and run the code on your board.
It looks like it's already there. Maybe.
You already have an account apparently. Yes, you're fine. So scroll down. So make that page bigger because you're missing stuff off on the right hand side there. Yes, you already have one. Save that and if I compile it, I will your compiler.
I have a compiler already with code in it.
Yeah, it'll take you back to it, or if it opens up a new one, it'll just refresh.
All I need to do is drag the file over there. Come onto that.
Oh yeah.
It's the same problem as I do, he's gotta fix it.
So if you have a, so try to kind no, that's my case. If you go to the thing with all the cute
How did I do it on my?
Okay.
So are you running Yosemite? Are you running Yosemite?
Yeah, just a minute.
Okay, so you have to do there's one of two things. There's either a workaround. About 3 days ago, we published a update to the firmware that fixes that problem. Because it took us about 3 days to get some code. So go to the platform. I also use the other.
The other board?
You can use either one.
Oh, I'll use this.
That tab right next to it.
Switch, right? Yeah, so when I'm on the USB, switch down right here, and then plug the cable in, because when you do that, it's gonna change it.
No, you have to do it differently. Click on Embed. That'll take you to the page.
It's okay with their bootloader, that's okay. Perfect. What you need to do is go grab the file, scroll down a tiny bit. So scroll down, right? So it's the latest file, just like grab that and put it in your downloads directory. Yeah, so there's a tab called firmware. See there's a number 4 or something on there? Yeah.
So now you want to go to the platforms page. Go down to that board, which is right here.
Do this.
This is the classic.
We import these as programs or what?
Well, so it depends.
That will have its
You're importing a program, you can pick up from where it's off. You take the whole program in. If you already have a program that you're working on, and you're searching for a library or a driver or something, you'll pull in a library, but a library doesn't go into the program.
Okay.
Are you ready to what we did was go back to Mbed.
So it says here, download the interface software.
Compile, that's right.
Yep, so the main
Terminal window, run the
This guy
file.
here, so the main, there's that. So now it's just gonna compile.
Yeah,
So just pick that. There's two, the cat factory guest, and then there's the cat factory
It's on the hard drive.
A wedding this Saturday.
You roll in, specifically for this board, so that's okay.
It's a bad habit of mine. I do. So
So if you
hold down the reset.
It's okay.
I can give you a little trick. All these LEDs on here, for now, it's like LED 1, LED 2, LED
Now take that file, drag and drop it.
Okay, so, I'm sorry, so when you go to the platforms page for this board,
So the LED.
It's gonna be caps, LED 1.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
go to the platforms page.
Oh.
That's an example.
Then scroll down for that board.
I can do searching. And back to your search for Embed Examples.
One's out.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Exactly.
Digital.
Yeah, and then now you're caught up with me. So now what it looks like to do is download the firmware image, translate into it, execute commands, and then pushes the update down to the board.
I'll right click this guy and then delete it.
You can drag and drop this.
That's killer.
So what's happening is your code.
Yeah, we gotta go over this, gotta compile that, and
Download the file.
what we just
Press and hold.
So there's gonna be space comma.
Okay, so you unplug it. To get my little master
Squiggle it until the.
Hold down the reset button. Back in. I've done nothing yet. I'm just putting it into
Whatever this name is.
to firmware mode.
I challenge you to make sense.
Okay.
3 or 4 lists, because that's
I need to put it in here.
They're labeled LED 1, LED 2, and
Okay, so the drive should now mount as bootloader. It mounted as bootloader. The reset button can be really.
This is a one-time process. So
Update using Mac.
it loads. So do.
Just got one delivery.
Okay, there we go.
There we go. Smash it.
Oh, password.
Pseudo.
Running with a
Okay.
Unknown bootloader dot. Somewhere we got
music or
So do an ls on your directory.
something where I should talk to them and like when our
Sure, if you want to, it's really easy.
What we got going on
Well, that's the thing.
Oh, there's a slash here, that's why.
But did you do the ls to find it? Because
No.
okay, so do ls to see who's there.
Something missing.
Unless you got a couple slots.
This is, something to do with what I'm mounting, and this is the file.
Yeah, you're gonna do a comma though.
This is my bin file.
Yeah, so you just got the one bootloader. Okay, yeah, so go for that.
Okay, so I mounted it. Copy.
So there's a slash in there, I think that was
The interface is okay.
I took the slash out.
You took the slash out.
I took it out,
Yeah, the slash.
Because when you hit tab, it put the slash in
Yeah,
automatically.
that's the problem there. Okay, so you're good. So if you unplug and connect, you're in good shape. And since you're an expert now, I'm gonna let you know everybody David here.
Okay.
So now if you take over your machine, you came up with Mbed and just
Minus
you are good to go. You for so you can put that command behind you until the next OS changes. We have to do it again.
Okay, so, where are you at now? I've got the phone plugins.
Yeah, just so keep managing a little bit. If you have questions, we can go back and go through all that. Just kind of here to handle tools, touch on fields. Yeah, go for it. Search beside the other. There's the accelerometer, there's the Microcontroller on there. There's also the
So back up there, just
there's the SD card slot. The first one is path to the file.
Yeah, this is the
CP is your copy from to.
Fairly, I don't know.
Jump over here. Take a seat.
So I
Okay, so we're
logged
So you're logged on. You got
logged on.
Oh, cool.
I got a little message that said,
Yeah, so there's a firmware step by step. You just gotta follow.
So the Mac, the path, the absolute path is user.
That's the thing, you guys are not.
Enter bootloader. Reset button, and then you connect the first one first. So everything to the left of the corner is your first one, and then it's this one down here. And then the right of the second one. Hold it and
Hold it down and then whack that guy in there.
Okay, well, it wouldn't work with the back.
So you should get the same again, but it can't prepare the drive in the boot loader. Update Microcontrollers. To do that, we need to download this file. Okay, there, download that. You should go to your downloads directory. You do it by default. Cool. And then if you go a little bit further, we're going to update this command. So we just need to run this command, replacing that little path right there in a channel. You can copy that.
This will be one of you're running
Did a shortcut.
Some people use that in their project. They want to do more line reports.
Yeah.
So you can also.
So now you just want to come back and see where it says path to interface update file. You want to do tilde downloads and then find the files. So delete that real quick. Delete that whole string. Put that slash back.
It's kind of
Already like deleted something.
populated forward. It's not. So you should have the program.
And keep the tab really in there. Download /022 file name.
Yeah, no, but I want to learn to do that.
Right.
I'll take minutes. Well, the thing is, I'm running the same and it has some issue with the format. So I have to
Plug and plug back in. Now calls Embed. So now he's happy.
It won't come up mounted as boot loader. It's always coming up as Embed.
Are you making sure you're holding the computer down before you plug it in?
Yes.
Okay. Well, bring it over here and I'll just take care of it for you.
Same thing. You can
It could be you have that one version of Yosemite that's the game versions. We have found that as a bug.
Well, it keeps coming up saying it's
that was you have to use Embed to the download.
So, I'm gonna grab this, save it.
Hello world. And that's as easy as we do. So if you grab him and just drop him onto Embed.
Let's open up my computer again. There you go, showed up as bootloader.
Jackson comes back to
This is not a good download. Oh, right here.
So I grabbed that reset right now.
When you hold reset, it's holding the target into a reset.
Yeah, it's the one right there.
Link LED 2.
you want an each part, right?
That one.
Yeah, it's the one by the.
I was pushing the wrong button. What button is it? This one right
Okay, no problem. So you can, you don't have a target device. Go back to that platform. Probably just open a new tab. So I'm sure you got a ton of tabs there.
Yeah, and now you want to put a ton of tabs for some reason.
Let's see that's one.
Yeah, I know.
Go to the developer side.
Okay.
I guess the other way to do this too, so the way it's pretty simple. Just close this down real quick, just minimize it and go to back to the embed drive that is in Finder. Put a shortcut file in there, and it'll take you directly to the page you want to be at. This is an HTML file. Whenever I click that guy, it's going to take you to and it'll probably not map down to your account, right? So that's all your account. This is the folder that you have, so it's all your information. And then that's it. So if you go back to the compiler tab you had opened up, just do a refresh. On the top right corner, you should see your graph. And you can just go, new program, and give you a couple template options. So here's the IoT DeepDive. So you can just say okay, and general purpose input output. You can drive an LED, you can sample some sort of.
It's kind of like
yeah, there's microcontrollers. Microcontrollers, these are all
Drop it on the drive.
So, out of curiosity, who has it blinking?
Memory reconstruction.
Okay, for those of you who have it blinking, I have a new challenge for you. Go ahead and try and blink 3 different colors. That is a tricolor LED on that board. And I'll give you a hint. In that code, if you look at it, in the main file,
you just have it available.
Come on, please.
So if
you look at it in the main file, this LED1, there's also an LED2 and an LED3, which hook up to R, G, and B. So try and make it flash 3 different colors, and then try and make it flash different colors that are amongst those 3 different colors. Go. For everyone who's having issues, raise your hand.
Go to the main file. So here's your program. There's your main. So this is what's executed. So right now you're going to blink the red light every 200 milliseconds. And if you wanted to change it and say blink the green LED. So it's LED green. And back on that platforms page, that one that linked you up there, there's all these tags written all over, like labels. You can use any of those labels in these parameters, and that'll give you access to it. So that's it. Save it, compile it, and same thing, drag and drop, rinse and repeat.
Now it's going to download to my downloads.
Downloads directory. You can change the browser to say, ask me where to download, and then you can tell it to download directly to the embed button. It's just a personal preference on how you drive your browser. Everybody drives their browser differently. Now we're flashing the green light. Now you can change the interval of it flashes. So right, that's 0.2, which is 200 milliseconds. That's going to go over twice the slow. So your browser settings, what browser are you using? Chrome, perfect. So your preferences on Chrome, preferences, perfect, and then just type into the tab, this search settings, download. And then you can tell it, ask me where to download each file. That's it. So close that tab up.
Now just drag it to the bootloader.
Also, I'm going to tell you that you ran in out.
So now switch document and go embed. So now, just be aware that the file is going to be on here. It's in this flash. It's going. The only way to get that exact same file again is to recompile. Right? It's consumed. It's in this device.
I'm just doing, for now to see if it
now it's going slower. So yeah, go ahead and find out a bit. Look around. There's documentation in here. So if you hit the little drop down, you'll see all the API calls. There's something called the handbook. It's a little more friendly to read if you want to do that way. And you can find out all the type of things you can do. And if you just look around at the examples on this page, explore a little bit and help some of those people.
So what's the price point of this guy?
That works really well.
$30. So it's like right on par with it.
Yeah, so the difference is, right, this is just meant for prototyping. It's meant to get your idea from your head, put it together, try it, test it, whatever. Then the idea is, you go buy this chip in volume, and that chip's, $4 or $5 in volume.
Yeah.
Which is different. And it's everything all in one chip. So if you took a Raspberry Pi and said, okay, well, I did what I wanted, it's $30, but now I want to go to production. Well, guess what? There's about $30 worth of memory, CPU, other stuff on the board.
Okay.
Let alone think about all that. So that's the difference. Like these are at a price point, they're low, they're average, they compare, but it's not meant to go to it's 1, 2, 5, 20. Obviously, the color scale makes sense. But you're going to go to production and do 1,000 pieces, 10,000 pieces, whatever. You're going to transition from this board to whatever fits the size of the chip that you're using. And at that point, you'll take this one chip right here and you'll stick it down.
And then the Bluetooth, is that on here as well?
No, the Bluetooth on this one, I'll just have Ethernet. The Bluetooth boards, we'll do next time, we'll bring those next time for people to use, or you can buy one yourself, same thing. They're like $20.
So you guys work with
ARM, so
That's exactly the error that I got. So my understanding, what you should be able to do is compile it, push it down, client area.
okay.
So I don't have time
Copy the
experience.
area.
But you guys are doing this all around.
And that's
So I know what I'm doing.
So I'm just
Benchtop that.
got the red on.
Analyzer for.
But these guys were initialized, so meaning that's why we've got this.
I mean, not that new one, the old one. Like this. He got it. Early 2000s. Right.
Well, this new ones are blinking, like you out the first.
No trace.
But you got it pushed down.
Yes.
So how do we,
You have to walk
okay, initialize, I would just say,
Yes, we did this.
zero, this is zero, this is zero, and then
But you got the firmware. Whereas.
Yeah, so the idea is here, right? You can have an idea of the mechanical stuff you're building, and you think like, I need that to rotate, I need this to do that. And it shouldn't be such a barrier to where you have to find somebody with the skill to get it. You should be able to do it yourself. If there's tools in place to be able to do that, and that's what this is all about. It's about, okay, somebody's got a driver on here for serial motors and for
Did you change it? Bootloader and everything. That's what I couldn't have. Can you show me?
No,
Oh, yeah, it works. All right. Okay, well done.
I'll try changing the colors.
That's right.
So,
so now you don't go to Embed. So that first page,
I got
page.
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually everything that's simple right there. That's the first one.
I got the soft there. That's it.
Like if I wanted to access this.
Yeah, that's the those are where it's easy to terminal.
No, but again, I tried just one.
Yeah, me too. And you can start accessing.
That one.
Yeah, and if you wanted to go
Password.
Is your admin password?
oh great, service
That's one of the special file for
schematics like Word,
So that's where I got.
Oh, okay, so I'm sorry, so what you have to do before that, there's really, okay, so before you can do that,
same thing,
you,
what angle you're looking at.
Yeah. So if I wanted to access that button, like.
and then you hold down to the right here.
Oh, I already did that.
You guys do it again on the board.
Okay.
You push down the reset button, you plug it back in,
Okay.
that changes it from being, so you program to change the firmware mode. So basically, it's an app in the map.
Yeah, so we define some APIs and build systems and ways to do things, and we say, take all you got.
There you go.
Okay, so it's mounted with doing.
Okay.
So now you can do the pseudo commands, because what it's saying is don't mount because it's on. Since it wasn't mounted as a okay, hit enter.
Thank you.
Much earlier rather than at the end. Trying to get it by 30%. Where would I do it? Let's go. Do the design all over again. Is there any support for program? What was that? So Oracle, actually, this particular one, Oracle really started. So if you do a search, probably just in Google and then before the apps.
Yeah.
And so there's a link on there. It's a little tricky. So I don't know exactly. You have to probably
It's on download. So why
somewhere on that website, there's a whole creative page. So maybe there's a link down here. Yeah, so they have those on there. You download that because you're
That's logic.
No, I actually said
RGB, 1, 2, 3. I mean, you look at the behavior.
So you're assuming that one is on.
So, you know, obviously this
That's your fallacy.
It's not.
That through
That, what you were doing is writing a one word microcontroller. But what if that LED is a 0 and a 1 on it? So it becomes a hard zero.
Yeah, so there's some territorial.
So you're just saying just flip them?
Yeah.
1 is off and 0 is on. Just flip them.
Or this LED 0 is on, 1 is on.
0. Say that again.
This LED 0 is on.
But I mean, you would think that because I'm late.
What that one is saying is that one is turning, setting the pen high, but that one has a
Okay, so I'm initializing on, but off. Even if I was, wouldn't this logic still work if I'm turning it off and on?
So now I can do command.
Right?
No, because right here you're turning it
So you would
on.
just, you see those.
Your offs are on, your ons are offs.
Okay.
So when you think it's off, you're actually turning it on.
These are my.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a question. So I downloaded the Hello World, and I got
What version of OS X?
the one where it's where it gives me that. I got it to where I can download and put this file in there. And so I was curious, I just commented these lines out, but I'm curious, like it's doing, it's got a green and a red, but it's got a state in the middle. So my code is so I was going to try to change those.
Yeah, let me double check that. I think you just went to the user.
What does D0?
Yeah, it's I just started from users. Yeah, it's capital USD.
Yeah, it looks like
I don't know what my stuff is.
What you're doing is just and so imagine if
that's what
that just it's not Arduino. You're flipping. You're taking and taking negative. So if the default value, it takes whatever is in. And so if you catch your code halfway through, if you let it sit for now, everything will go to 0. But then if you try and load your code halfway through an execution or something, or you power it on, there may be a negative. In which case the negative would be a 0. In which case you'll have like this weird, 3 halves thing.
and that's what you're doing up there with the digital alpha, my lead.
I'm explicitly setting values. In your case, you're doing relative. You're setting it relative to itself. You've never initialized it. So relative is relative to.
Yeah.
So before the while loop, I would add, GP 0 equals 1 LED to initialize them to
And so this, like I said, I just downloaded this, but I could just as easily not have that type of code. Just say 1 or equals 0. Turn it on.
Exactly. Keep in mind though, this LED freescale for some reason puts a negative logic LED on there. So 0 is on, 1 is off. It's just a little thing they did because it was cheaper.
Okay. And that's I'm using capital LED1. What is that?
Right. If you go to the platforms page, that is the name of the pin. Okay. So go to platforms and then find the platform. There's this giant pin map. One of the pins is named LED1 and it's because it goes to LED1. Each of these also has a
Question, I think I screwed something up. Well, I clicked on commit and instead of going to 4, does that mean that it changed the original file? So where did it go when I did a commit?
That's a great question. I did Sam because the version control system. I just ran over.
Well, if I click on it, it's going to commit it.
And that's what's
I gave it a message already.
Yeah, so you can use the same other side.
I don't want a message.
There's this thing as part of the standard. We can't have their cancellation. He's asking what happens when he hits connect.
Nothing. Oh, nothing. So that's in your local workspace. So that's just like you're working on your hard drive right now and you have it pushed to GitHub. That's your local copy.
Oh, so now if I do publish, then it'll go.
Now it's going to go across the web. It's really going from.
So if I if I do a publish, then it'll save it and I'll be able to retrieve it.
It's already saved. If you commit and there's no changes, you're as safe as you can be. And now you have the option to close your browser and go home, or you have the option to publish to another space where potentially other people are waiting for changes.
So where is it when let's say I logged out and I came back in? Where is this?
That's exactly what you left it.
I'm not sure. Close this. Close this out.
You know, the browsers are creepy, right? You never know what they're going to do.
I'm not sure what. Okay, so I'm going to close.
So you can log out of your account and you can go back and log out.
Okay, I'm going to log out.
You have this, the DK, right?
Now I'm going to log in.
Yeah. They always give you some
And so, once you publish,
to make your own board. Oh, okay. So I'm not going to be able to use it. So
I haven't used it either.
right. I'm like, okay.
So now how do I see my file?
So you're using your
Yeah, it's a I just testing stuff.
I got the USB deal. The little.
Oh yeah, the
So everything that I work on,
I think my computer might have died here.
Yeah, this for
and unless I do a publish, no one else knows.
I use it.
we know it exists. We don't know what it is.
That's the Nordic. Well, that's the Nordic.
I use that with the sniffer.
Alright.
Yeah, I use that one to sniffer.
So you can.
So if you go to your workspace real quick, so why don't you go back to the other tab?
Well, no,
So can I get a show of hands for who's done both just on the LED? So just on the LED. Who's done tricolor LED? Awesome. Who wants to move on to doing something like printing debug statements? Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay. So there's this. Wait for him to sit down. I'm losing my voice. So there's this thing called virtual serial ports in microcontrollers. It allows you to send a stream of text back up to the computer from the microcontroller. In this case, all of these boards are equipped with a virtual serial port by default. If you just use a printf statement, whatever you dump into that printf statement will magically show up on your computer. I'm going to show you how to use that magic for awesomeness.
Does it just come off of one pin?
Serial channels are a two-pin solution. There's RX and a TX.
That's right.
But yeah, essentially it's shoved across USB inside of a little USB wrapper and shenanigans. But anyways, shenanigans, it's a magical word. Anyways, so I'm going to add two statements to my code. One is going to say printf. I should make this bigger so you can see it.
Yeah.
Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to say printf. This is an empty printf statement. This will print absolutely nothing, but this is the bare bones required to make a printf statement. Notice it has the brackets and the two quotation marks. Everything that I put between the quotation marks will get printed out to the terminal. You can do stuff like print variables that are integers or strings or other things, and for that I leave you to search the World Wide Web for a thing called printf. It's wonderful. So I'm going to add a thing right here that says LED off, and a thing right here that says LED on. Now what you'll notice is two things. One, I'm saying the LED is off when I sent a 1 value. If you've been eavesdropping, you would have heard that the LED on here is a negative logic LED, meaning 1 turns it off, 0 turns it on, because there's a little inverter gate in front of it, and that is the part that this particular manufacturer decided to use, probably because it's cheaper than a positive logic LED. So just keep that in mind. 1 is off, 0 is on this magical LED. Also, the /n and the /r are special characters. Slash is a way of escaping out of traditional things. Again, this is all in wiki pages and things on the internet. The point is the /n/r allow you to do a new line and a carriage return, which takes it from the end of the text, pops it down a line, and then brings it back to the beginning. So when I print these out, instead of printing them consecutively one after another and just wrapping around the page, it'll print one thing, and then /n/r will take it back like you were hitting enter on a old school typewriter. I'm now going to compile this. Going to save it, and I'm going to use a program called CoolTerm. I'm going to show you all how to use it and then show you where to get it. So just watch me for a second. It'll make it easier, trust me. Don't try and do it at the same time. So CoolTerm. Oh man, I moved it. Where did I move it?
Download it again.
Yeah, that's actually the better solution. So in this case, follow along.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go search for CoolTerm. Search the internet for CoolTerm. Wow, that's really bad. I can't see any of that.
If you have Mac terminal, do you still need this?
Yeah, so this will work on Windows and Mac. It claims to work on Linux. I've never gotten it to work, but if you're a Linux user, you probably know how to use Minicom, so use that. So CoolTerm is going to be the first link on Google. If you search for CoolTerm, it'll give you this kind of sketchy looking page, because it's a guy who writes it in his free time, which means he has no UI skills. You scroll down, you'll see this little serial terminal thing right here. This is CoolTerm. If you want it for Mac, you click on Mac. If you want it for Windows, you click on Windows. I'm going to click on Windows because I'm using Windows. I'm going to save the file and unzip it. So I'm going to extract to CoolTerm.
This guy's side, are we?
7 people hit it.
But I'll just hit you at the same time, we're gonna crash this guy's side.
No, you might actually.
Stress testing.
Computer in his bedroom since
Yeah.
Anyways, so this program does not require an installer, which is why I like it. It will automatically find your COM port, which is the second reason why I like it. And as far as I can tell from my analysis, it is virus-free, which is the third reason why I like it. So you should like it too.
Yeah, that's a good reason to like.
If you don't like this program, I should mention you can go use other ones. There's like Putty, there's Minicom that's built into most .NIC system. There's a whole bunch of other terminal programs. Just find the one you like. I just find this one to be terribly easy. So if I run it, oh, come on, mouse. It'll do this thing, and then it'll just run. I don't have to install anything. There's this wonderful button up here at the top called Connect. And if I look down here at the bottom, it'll tell me what it's going to try and connect to. If you have more than one board plugged into your computer, you'll need to change which one it connects to. But since I only have one board, it's like, hey, I know what you want. You want this board because it's the only one plugged in. So I'm going to select that board for you. So I just go ahead and hit the Connect button. Would probably help if I program my board, wouldn't it? So I go back to
Didn't select the baud rate either.
You don't have to.
No, so 9600 is default for all the boards.
What do you get for a board that needs to work for a port?
9600, isn't it?
Bluetooth? Well,
Mine says it has no serial ports.
Well, it has no serial ports. What do you got?
Are you?
Okay, we skipped. We didn't install the driver.
Able to mount serial port?
Yes.
So if you're on Windows, you have the driver that needs to be installed.
well, that's what I have. Is it found my Bluetooth? It's called.
If you're on
Bluetooth
Mac,
port.
you don't have that.
Yeah, but
Cool term driver.
No,
so if you go back to that
Bluetooth is
platform,
no,
just click that shortcut.
this one has to mount.
If you
the
scroll a tiny bit down, it's going to talk about setting up a serial port.
Okay.
A few options. Not too far down, you can go up a tiny bit.
So,
What do you do about not having these serial ports and so it's crying?
Are you using Windows?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we get to the fun part where for Windows, because Windows is Windows and made by this company called Microsoft, they're like, we're not going to make this easy for you. So we were like, okay, if you won't make it easy, we'll make it easy. So you have to install a driver to use the virtual COM port. In that case, if you search for Windows serial driver on the website, it'll be the first thing that comes up.
Yeah.
So there's my thing going off.
What did you hit to make that go?
This magical button right here called Connect.
you can see it as COM45.
You'll see it as something else, I promise. Especially if you're on Mac, it'll be like 8.
You may have to go selectors. You may have to go selectors and settings on Mac because there's probably already a few pieces of hardware that are on your computer.
Yeah.
So if you go to the settings and look at the drop down, it's going to be something like
USB modem.
USB modem with a bunch of numbers at the end of it.
See, settings in cool term?
Yes.
Yeah, options.
Configure is what it
Port
is.
options, port.
Yeah.
So on cool term,
USB modem.
big button with like the gear and the ratchet.
Then say okay, and then go click connect.
For those of you who have Windows, you need to install the driver. So I'm going to search Windows serial driver. And lo and behold, it is the first link that comes up.
It's on the platforms page too.
Yes, if you read down that platforms page, it'll be on there as well. This will tell you to download the latest driver, run it with an embed plugged in, and it will pop up and go, hey, I found new hardware. Okay, I'm installing new hardware. Okay, you're done. Go do stuff. And it'll just take care of itself for you. So, will y'all do that?
Already got it.
In cool term, I need to find the right port, or is that what I'm trying to do here?
Yeah. Hold on. Cancel. And then disconnect. And then go to options.
Do you have anything at the bottom?
Now change that to Bluetooth.
Well, then I hit
USB modem.
But you had, that was still on the same. Okay. You had to restart it.
And you know what this tells you? It tells you your USB modem actually shows up as a serial device to your computer.
Yeah. Remember what the first, the N or the R?
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, somehow it's mattering here.
Oh, you use the wrong slash. Slash is what you're
Not sure.
Yes. So a backslash escapes it before it's going to
change the baud rate. So if you want to change the baud rate, you have to actually create. So this is all retargeted. What do you serial? You don't want to do that. You can create a serial object. So there's a peripheral called serial, and whatever name you want to do it. By default, it's USB TX and USB RX for the pins that automatically map to.
So it'll make up USB serial port and use that name.
Yes, exactly. And then you'll have the option to say, I created whatever this object is, dot baud, give it the speed you want to give it, and now all your messages pass off.
Because yeah, this is slash hyperterm. It's like
Did you find the fault?
Yeah. Mine came up as USD modem 1412.
Yeah, mine came out as I used.
I just didn't.
That's kind of nice.
I have to copy several to my account.
What was your body?
Well, you were gonna show me something.
Yeah, so you're a user space, right? So we came out here, and right now you got nothing. Right, it just tells you the platform that you're on. You can see that your location on the map. If you were to publish your code, this is where you would publish it to. Right? So developers, blah, 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 users, your name, code.
How did I get here again?
You click on your little button right here. Yeah, so once you publish your program, real quick, you can watch it up here.
Okay, so this is
So if you were to take this URL right now and give this to anybody, nobody's going to get it.
okay, so
Nobody's going to
publish it. Now I notice this name doesn't describe what I'm doing here now.
Change it.
Can I just change it here?
Yeah, right click. Name, F2.
Yeah.
Good.
So we'll say.
I think I've got, oh, there we go.
Okay.
There we go. Let's say.
No, so you need to search from within the Embed website. Don't go to Google, go to the Embed website and search from within that.
Okay.
Okay. Because that'll just search inside the website. In the corner, sir. Are you good?
Not necessarily publish, right?
Yeah, so you have your choice. If you're working through a whole bunch of changes, there's a bunch of requirements, you can commit, and then maybe you want to push your code to give it to somebody else. Or if you just want to publish, you hit publish, and it walks you through all the steps based on this.
Okay, so go to click LEDs. Okay. Okay. And then I want to forget look LEDs, description, slow. Okay. And I want it to be private.
Alright, so private.
That's it?
That's it, okay. You open that page and you can go back to where we were. And just do a refresh.
Really? Oh, that's so awesome.
So if you were to go to this URL and say, hey, can you go look at that for me? They're not going to see anything, right? And if you were to click on this and give them the URL, they're going to get a 404 message saying, hey, you can't find it. Now, if you come in here, let's take a look. All the more, you just open the whole world.
Here?
So now this is like code hosting world, right? It's like, so you have all this stuff.
The old one, okay.
There's your API documentation, documents, make sure there's wiki, so you can, hey, write some instructions, here's some pictures, make some notes, incoming pull requests, you have now your admin settings when you can pull requests. So there's all your settings around together.
So I can change it to your
Name, you can browse, licensing types, read random URLs, change the visibility of it. You can add developers. You will developers. So this is the first time. Program. You can add developers, keep it private, and then it's, you know, based on that they're logging in with their credentials. Same thing. At this point, you can copy this URL, do a HTTP form if you have Imperial installed, and you can just really suck it right down to your local machine.
Which one did you buy? Which board?
Okay. So you're gonna build a board with just the chips and the network?
So which one you like now? What are you doing now?
Yeah, so you can get really two of them.
I got blink LEDs.
Whatever you did for the cheapest.
So there.
They do the same stuff.
I'll show you what it'll.
Yeah. I think that's
So I click the name and I go towers.
Is where all the
Yeah, that's right.
use that footprint, write code for this, literally everybody running.
application.
No
It's done and testing.
none of that old stuff.
And they've actually done the Android app where it looks like the same.
Right, and then I came over here to this little trend thing and I clicked publish.
So a lot of this stuff.
I also know
The towers. What's the towers?
This whole platform.
Board stack that you plug in.
It's a different hardware.
It's the same, but
It's the same chip, yeah. A lot more expensive.
And you click OK.
Which is what all the Embed boards are.
And then now
Is this
it's
like
More than we need.
Intel's trying to promote that.
now you got the description of what this is. The cost is put in your account.
Flexibility.
These kinds. I mean,
Increases IP.
If you don't need it, you don't have to pay for it.
In this to make chips, they're in this to enable an
What is
ecosystem.
well, if you make it public, anybody can see it if they search. You make it public, unlisted, only the people that you give the URL will be able to.
Also, it works for the private
It's just for you.
all the way up to the power piece.
If you want to make it public, or another, you can.
Across the connectors, you add capability to put multiple board. Linear stack and board stack.
How you guys getting along up here?
Yeah, totally fine, yeah.
Well, this is the same.
What's your name?
So now, if you had been to your other page,
There's a lot of other
and you log out, we can get into this.
But with this,
Also, we have a hub stack.
And then click this, you want to touch this entire
application.
Those are all just manuals for like general purpose IO. And they probably have some sort of digital communication
want to get in
built in with them as well. Yes, I'd like somewhere down the
Now I have all of this.
And that's one of the other pictures with like the multiple tag labels. Yeah, on that. Kind of cartoonish picture.
This is the stuff that I do. I can go back and go back.
So, does everyone have printfs working? Is anyone having trouble?
Right, and then you say the change.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now that all of you know how to do this, you can now compile new code, download your board, you're off to the races. If you want to do BLE, there are BLE boards you can buy. The same process applies. If you want to do more advanced stuff with these boards, like control ADC or control a string of Adafruit NeoPixel addressable LEDs, or have a relay, there's a whole bunch of really cool stuff, which I've got a box to show you. So, this is from a third-party company called Seed. They make this really, really cool thing called Seed Grove, where they have this Arduino header compatible shield. It has all these connectors, some of which are I2C, some of which are analog, some of which are digital. And they sell these huge boxes of sensors. In this, I've got a relay, a fire sensor, a button, vibration sensor, a potentiometer, a touch sensor, a LCD, and a couple other things. And they all have this form factor. You can plug them in, and you've got sensors, and they work. If you want to use these sensors, we have a huge components database on the web page, which right next to platforms is labeled as components, right there. This has got a whole bunch of reusable component code. If you want to use, say, an IMU unit, a 9050, it's like 9150 from InventSense, the traditional analog gyro that exists, we've got code for that. If you want to use the mag they have, we've got code for that. We have a whole bunch of really awesome stuff you can build with, and so I encourage y'all to take a look at it, find something you want to do, and go forth and build awesome. I like the Seed Grove kit because it means no soldering. Things just plug in and they work. They're also cheap as dirt, so there's always that fun thing.
Now, is that shield compatible here?
Yes, these are Arduino compatible. which means they plug into, yeah, that too.
Sorry, you already got a few on there. You see those white connectors?
Yeah.
You can get the sensors and just drop them all.
So that's just like a heads up thing. I like them. They work really well. If you want to do any prototyping, I recommend them. It'll take the headache out of stuff for you. That's all I got for tonight. I've got you all compiling code. I've got you on the website. I've got you reloading stuff, and you're competent enough to now flash an LED and print, "Hey, honey, I love you," on the screen, so your wife will love you forever.
Will I help you find a honey?
That might. So that's all I got for tonight. Can I come to your question in just a second? So that's all I got for tonight. This is the basis of everything we're going to be doing in the next meetups. It's like BLE. I'm going to do BLE inside of this compiler, because if I tried to do BLE inside of something else, it would take 4 hours to set it up. So in this one, I can just say #include BLE.h, and then BLE on, BLE set advertising, BLE start, and I'm doing BLE.
We're doing it next time?
Next
or
month?
We have 2 BLEs that we can talk?
Maybe. I actually haven't finished doing it yet.
Yeah, sure.
So I'm going to teach you how BLE works, and then have a workshop on using BLE. Most likely it'll be device to phone is probably what it's going to be.
That's right, device and what?
Device to phone.
People should bring their phones and...
Right. So two things before I walk out. One is if you go to the meetup page, at the bottom of this meetup, I already started a meetup, go away. Clearly, we're all here. So at the bottom of this meetup's description, this is what's going on right now. The very bottom, there are these 3 links. If you have any questions about what we did here today, it is all documented in these 3 links. One is a series of videos that I made. They're all hosted up on YouTube. It walks you through soup to nuts, how to start with the board, to download a binary to your board. So if you walked in late and missed something, check out the videos, they'll get you through it. If you gotta do firmware updates, we've got firmware update videos on there to help you out. If you want more information about the compiler, there's a whole 4-minute video made by this really smart Czechoslovakian guy in our team, and it's awesome because he doesn't say a word. So you actually understand everything. And then the last link is the most important one for me personally. There's a feedback form on Google Forms. If I could get y'all to go there and fill it out for me, tell me what you want. I've got about 3 months worth of meetups planned out, and outside of that, I'm totally open to suggestions. So if y'all have a tech that you want to build with, if you've got something that sounds interesting, shoot it at me, and I will go spend a couple hours proofing it out and seeing if I can make it happen. If you have any feedback outside of that, like what I did wrong, did I smell bad, anything, it is always welcome feedback, and I highly encourage it. And that's it. I'll be sending out a meetup invite for next month within the next week here. I'm still trying to get boards for that meetup, so we may not have boards. You may have to buy your own. I apologize in advance if that happens.
It's beneficial. It's beneficial if they buy their own and take it home.
Right, it is beneficial if you buy your own BLE board for next meetup so you can take it home and play with it. I will send out an email to the group, so you'll get that email. And yeah, I'll let y'all know. Please stay tuned, and feedback, please, that form. It helps me validate what I'm doing here.
So I have one of the older Freedom boards. Would it be okay to use this for the projects or not? There's no Bluetooth on it.
Right, so it won't work for the Bluetooth. So that's the thing. The different techs we focus on, there may be different boards. I'm trying to get boards from different people I know. Like all these boards here tonight, I borrowed from my gracious overlords. And they're like, yeah, no, go do community development stuff. I'm like, thank you. So please return the boards or else my butt's on the line. But I'm currently still trying to get someone for the early ones. I thought I'd have someone I haven't yet. By the end of this week, I should know yes or no, will I have someone? At which point I'll email y'all and be like, yes, I got someone. Or, hey, I'm sorry, y'all should probably go buy one of these. They'll be like $23.
And which one was it? I'm sorry, on the product board, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I don't have anything, like my phone doesn't do Bluetooth LE. So even if I buy the board with Bluetooth LE, I can't talk to anything. Right there.
Yeah? None of your phones do it? You don't have any
laptop? I have it.
What's
your laptop?
Huh?
What, your laptop has Bluetooth?
No, it has Bluetooth, but I don't think it's Bluetooth LE.
You might be able to buy a cheap dongle.
Yeah, so there's particular Nordic kits out there that come with the dongle, the sniffer that plugs into your computer, and the other board, so you can
beyond that, there's also cheap BTLE, like $5, $10 dongles from China. But at that point, you will be running on your computer. I need to figure out how to do it on the computer because that involves some tools like Wireshark and gets kind of buggy. I was probably just going to use it on like a phone and be like, hey, look, the Nordic kit. It can see all the BLE devices around you. Change your name, it shows up. Give me a little bit and I'll see if I can figure out something for you before you're not.
Can you talk a little bit about Embed, or excuse me, ARM in Austin compared to the rest of the? Well, yeah, I know. I mean, what is in Austin compared to what's in the rest of the world? You know, the organization.
The majority of our teams are spread out around the world. So like I'm part of a 30-man team. 4 of us are here, 4 are in Cambridge, a couple are in Asia.
So are there just 4 in Austin, or is there a larger group?
No, there's a huge building filled with people doing I don't know what. I actually work in a small segregated office because they're like the one who does not know hardware, segregate it. So I'm actually not all that in tune with what they do in town. I know I do Mbed down in the office. That's about it. Yeah. Was there another question?
What was the feedback? What was the name of the sensor kit?
Oh, Seed Grove. S with 3 E's.
Okay.
S-triple-E-D Grove, like Sam Grove. Question?
I want to build my own 3D printer.
Yeah.
Can I use this and this and?
Sure.
Like, is there
Please,
is there code?
Take a look. There's a thing called Smoothie. You know who did the Smoothie 3D printer?
So walk him through that.
Maybe
other questions? Outside of that,
just do a search for
if there's
the
extra pizza in here, please take it, because I don't want to have to clean it up. So that walks out the door with you, that makes my job much easier. I'm going to hang out here till 9, in which case the pretty lady up front is going to give me the boot. Please keep hacking. Please drop your boards off in the box when you're done. I'm kind of trusting y'all, because I can't really enforce that. Cool. Does anyone want any other help? I'm still here. Here till 9.
I want to access the instructions on how to build it.